Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Terry, obviously with College Football Stop, bringing you another video today. It's obviously, I'm sorry, skip the date here. So today is October 13th, 2023. So we're going to go ahead and talk about Ohio State versus Purdue, obviously, get into this game or this week's big games. I have my weekly upset alert that I like to give. And then we'll dive a little bit deeper into the Ohio State versus Purdue game. So let's go ahead and get into that now. Typically, when I do discuss things that are not Ohio State, I like to start with those things, just because Ohio State's my team, and I like to finish up talking about them. So, all right, let's get into basically what my thoughts are about Week 6, some of the big games that I picked out, and then, like I said, my upset of the week is going to be coming up, and I think this one's a doozy. It could or could not happen, but if it does, it would be great. When I pick my upset of the week, I like to make it like a true upset game. So not like a team that's not like a number 20 team beating a number 10 team, like for example USC versus Notre Dame. If Notre Dame were to beat them, that would be an upset because they're losing to a two-loss team. But I think that they're favored in terms of betting. Notre Dame is because it's at home. So again, I wouldn't consider that one really an upset. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. The first game I wanted to talk about was Texas A&M at Tennessee. So Tennessee is currently ranked. I think they're like 16. And Texas A&M is not because they've lost a few games. But I think that this could be a game where Texas A&M could go into Tennessee and beat them. I know Tennessee's been getting better as the year goes on, but I don't think that they're as good as they were last year. Excuse me, just simply because of losing their quarterback. Hendon Hooker was really good, and then those wide receivers they have were really good too. I know the ones they have now are also, but I don't think Joe Milton is as good as Hendon Hooker. So I don't know. I think Texas A&M could win that game. I'm gonna pick Texas A&M to win 24-17 in that game. And then moving on to probably the biggest game this weekend. It's an argument between either Oregon at Washington or USC at Notre Dame. But I want to talk Oregon at Washington because I think this one truly is a game of two teams that could contend for a playoff spot later down the road. I think right now Oregon's probably the most complete team in the country, other than maybe Georgia. Michigan's right up there with them. But Oregon has looked really good. Their offense is moving the ball. You know, they're not throwing the ball deep down the field or nothing like that, but they have a very efficient offense, and Bo Nix is the perfect guy to run that. And also, he can run the ball too, so that's an added dynamic, makes that offense really good. But when you look at the opposite side, you know, Washington also has one of the best offenses in college football. I would argue probably their offense is the best in college football because they actually throw the ball down the field, and that's going to be harder to defend when you get against like the top tier defenses. Um, in terms of like if you're comparing it to Oregon's offense is like one that I could see really struggling against a team like against a team like Georgia, Michigan, probably even Ohio State this year. But Washington, I think, would give all of those teams fits just because they have a ton of really good wide receivers, and Michael Penix Jr. is trying to work his way into being a first round draft pick. So that's going to be a super exciting game. I think that Oregon is going to win that game because I don't think that Washington's defense is going to have an answer for what Oregon does on offense. And I think that Oregon's defense is probably better than Washington's, and they may be able to get a few more stops. I still think it's going to be a high scoring game. If I had to pick the score, I would say probably something like maybe 38-35, something like that. 42. No, probably not. They probably won't get that high. I would say 38-35, Oregon wins. All right, and then the next game I want to talk about, again, argument for potentially the biggest game of the year or of the weekend, USC at Notre Dame. Obviously, USC undefeated, the Lincoln Riley effect, Heisman Trophy quarterback, but that team's defense is absolutely terrible, and I don't think that they're really going to stop anybody this year. I was on record earlier saying that they look like their defense is getting really better. I think I had them at like number 3 or 4 when I did my top 10 a few weeks back. But their defense has just continued to show that they're not going to compete with a good team. And I think that Notre Dame is going to be able to exploit that because one of the biggest issues on USC's defense is that they can't tackle or shit. I don't know if they're taking bad angles or they're just, I don't know, whatever it is. Notre Dame is going to be able to exploit that with their run game. And I really think that this game has a potential to get out of hand in Notre Dame's favor if they're able to stop USC. Um, we'll see, because at the same time, I could also see USC kind of lighten Notre Dame's defense up. If you look back to the Ohio State versus Notre Dame game, Ohio State's offense was bad overall. It wasn't just Notre Dame's defense being good. So if USC can get their athletes into space against this Notre Dame team, they are going to run into some trouble. So we'll see. I have Notre Dame winning this one. If I had to pick a score, I would say something like 31-24. I don't know. 24 is a lot to hold USC to, but Notre Dame's defense is really good, man. They have NFL players on that side of the ball. You look at Harold Cross, the defensive tackle they have, he's really good. And then their two corners, I mean, they were giving Ohio State's receivers hell. You look at, I forget their names, but whatever. Anyway, they have two corners that are probably going to be NFL picks. So I think they could really give this USC offense some problems and win the game, possibly run away with it, like I said, if some things go right. And then the last game I wanted to talk about here that's not Ohio State Purdue is my upset of the week. So as I was saying before, I like to give an upset of the week every single week, and I always pick it like a real upset. Like my upset of the week last week was Georgia Tech over Miami. I got that one right, barely, but that was also like some freak. Miami just needed to kneel the ball. I don't know what the hell they were doing, but loser programs lose. That's just what they do. But anyway, this week again, I keep it a true upset. Like I could have went like Notre Dame over USC, but I think Notre Dame's favored in terms of like betting lines. So, all right, my upset of the week this week is going to be Syracuse at Florida State. So, most people are probably going to think I'm crazy for this, but Syracuse is one of those teams that I've always seen. I mean, they do it every single year. They're good for one upset a year, and I don't think they've had that this year. They haven't looked good at all, but they're due for one upset, and I think that this Florida State team is vulnerable. I think that their defense is not very good, and their offense can be stopped, especially if you don't let those wide receivers get off on you and keep Jordan Travis in the pocket. So I don't know. That's my upset of the week. Do I got to give a score prediction for that? I guess I will. I'll say that Syracuse will win 28-26. I don't know. Whatever. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think they pull it off. Okay, so I'm going to move off of the like kind of national landscape now. I want to talk a little bit about this Ohio State versus Purdue game. I did a little bit of digging into Purdue's team and just kind of looked up some of their stats, what they're looking like this year. Before I get into that, if you guys have anything to say, let me know in the chat. And we can talk about this game or this Ohio State team, whatever. And then obviously hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff if you're enjoying the content. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. When I was looking at Purdue's offense, Purdue's offense is averaging 25.7 points per game. Again, I mean, that's not bad. It's not like an Iowa-style offense, I wouldn't think. However, it's not anything that really should threaten this Ohio State defense. I do think that this Ohio State defense is really going to be able to kind of shut things down in this game. And not just that, I think that they're going to create a lot of turnovers because if you look at I'm getting ahead of myself. If you look at Purdue's quarterback, Hudson Card, he used to play for Texas. I mean, he never really looked like he was good enough to play there. Obviously, he ended up here now. So he's thrown for 1,491 yards this year. That is in 6 games, as opposed to you look at Kyle McCord's stats. He's only played 5 games. So he has thrown for a decent amount of yards. But the one thing that I noticed with him is 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So if you have a almost 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, that's terrible. And I think this Ohio State team has ball hawks this year. So I could really see them creating maybe 2, 3, 4, probably not 4. I would say 2 or 3 turnovers. And if that's the case, this game's going to get really out of hand. If they don't, though, if Purdue's able to move the ball, then, I mean, I just hope we don't run into some game that's tight in the third quarter, because it really shouldn't be that way. I mean, this Ohio State team is too good for that. And I don't know. It just, again, they've been playing down to the level of competition all year. At least that's kind of what I think. However, I do think that some of that is being really, really bad at a few positions, and everyone else is having to make up for that. So I don't know. I don't think this game's going to get too close. But just digging into some players to watch out for Purdue. They have one wide receiver that has about 400 yards this year. Another one that has like 330. Looking the top wide receiver on their team, his name is Deion Burks. He got like 4 touchdowns. The other guy, that next guy on the list, has 0 touchdowns. So it seems like that's definitely their target. It's going to be a guy to look out for. I'm not really worried about this Purdue wide receiver against our secondary though. I don't think that, one, their quarterback's going to have enough time to sit back there and throw the ball, but 2, I don't really think that even if he did, that this guy is going to be able to really get off on Davison Igbinosun or Denzel Burke. So I don't know. It's the way we look at this team is so complete 180 to last year. It's funny because like last year if somebody had the ball, we knew that we were at risk of giving up points, and this year it's like, I dare you to throw the ball. Like, you better run it. Sure, run it and hope they don't, somebody doesn't make a play and get you stopped into a 3rd and long. But our secondary has been so good this year, I just don't really worry about them. All right, so let me see here. Looking at Purdue's defense, they let me see. Sorry, I lost my spot here. Okay, looking at Purdue's defense, they're actually giving up like 380 yards per game. That's really bad. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what Ohio State is. I'm gonna look it up here, but 380 yards per game is bad, especially when in the Ohio State's offense probably averages like that much, I would imagine. But if you look at Purdue's offense, they're averaging 389 a game. So I don't know, man. I think this looks like a typical Purdue team, even though the coaches are different. Where their offense is going to probably be able to move the ball, their defense is probably not going to be very good. At least this is the Purdue teams of recent. And I mean, Ohio State's defense, I think, is good enough this year where someone having an offense like Purdue does is averaging like 25 points per game. That should be closer to like maybe 10 in this game. And that's kind of where I would predict this. We'll get into my score prediction a little bit later. But yeah, that was just a little bit more details about Purdue's team. Another thing too, they have 2 running backs that are decent. They have a guy averaging 4.2 yards per carry and a guy averaging 5.9. 4 touchdowns and 5 touchdowns. So I mean, those guys definitely have a little bit of juice to them. I mean, I don't see this Ohio State defense really getting ran all over like that, because the way I've seen what they've done this year is they've been super opportunistic. And basically, Ohio State's defense, you might get a first down, you might get another first down, but as soon as they get you in that 2nd and long situation, you can see the attitude, you can see the aggressiveness of all the players on the defense kind of tighten up, and they're like, all right, this is our chance right here. This set of downs, we're getting them off the field. So I don't know. Again, not too worried about their running backs kind of getting off, even though they look like pretty good players. I think that our defensive line is good enough to kind of hold them to way below their average. All right, let me see here. I did want to talk about from the Ohio State side. I did want to talk about some players that we might get to see in the game that we don't typically see. So if you look at this weekend, we have Emeka Egbuka is probably not going to play. We don't know that for sure, but that's kind of the consensus around, is that he's not going to be playing this weekend. So to me, that opens up 2 things. That opens up that slot position. Who are we going to have playing in that position? And then also the punt return, because if you're an Ohio State fan, you know that it's frustrating watching our special teams units. And Emeka, unfortunately, is a part of that, but it's because of what they're asking him to do. So Emeka Egbuka is the punt returner. He just catches the ball. I mean, hell, one time he even took a knee. He made 2 guys miss and then just took a knee when he saw other people coming. So they're like, hey, you don't need to do too much. Just make sure you catch the ball, get a little bit of yards or whatever. So Um, it's going to be exciting to see a different player back there, because I think that if you put someone back there who is not always playing in the offense, that's their chance. That's their time to shine. And if you're an athlete, you know that, like, if it's your time to shine, you you're ready to go. Like, that's either you're gonna choke or you're gonna make the right move. So hopefully we get to see like a Jaden Ballard back there, or even Brandon Ennis back there. Those seem like two guys that I think could be shifty and could make some plays. Hopefully we'll get to see that. I think that if that's the case, maybe this is the week that we finally break the curse of kind of taking one to the house, because you're gonna have a guy back there who is like, this is my only chance to do this. Like, I'm not playing every single game. I'm not playing every game. This is my chance to go out here and make a play. So hopefully that doesn't lead to a mistake. That could also be something that happens, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to see which guy they have back there and how they look when they catch the ball. And then let me see here. Some other player. Okay, yeah, we're looking at players we expect to see. Another guy that we've all been pushing for, obviously, is for CJ Hicks to play. I hear that Steel Chambers has some kind of injury. Obviously, Cody Simon has been filling into that spot, but Cody Simon, honestly, he didn't have his best game last game either. I hope we get to see CJ Hicks at least for a drive or two, and just let us see what he can do, because, I mean, if he gets out there and he starts making plays, what are they going to do? Are they going to say, nah, you know what? You can't play, even though you're a playmaker and you're going to make plays. They're not going to be able to do that. I think they won't be able to keep him off the field. A guy like that, I think he's ready to grab an opportunity. Again, this is kind of speculation, but I hope that he does play, and I hope that we see that from him. And then I hope that this game gets out of hand in like the third quarter. I want to see some of our younger guys get out there again, because the last time it was super exciting. The last time the younger guys got out there, we saw Devin Brown throw a touchdown to Carnell Tate. It was a dime. The last time the younger guys got out there, we saw Jermaine Matthews make a hell of a break on a pass and intercept it and take it to the house. And I mean, he was zooming when he was running. I want to see those young guys get out there and make plays. So I hope Ohio State can start fast and get the game to the point where you're comfortable with letting some other guys go in and get those guys some reps, because at some point this year we're going to need some depth. I'm not wishing injury on anybody, but come on now. It's just a simple fact that at some point in the season you're going to need depth, and they need to keep developing that depth, and there's no better way to do it than game reps. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about, like I said, a short show today, but I want to talk about who are my expected players of the game. So I'm going to do one or two on each side of the ball, just based on what we've seen so far and what I expect to see in this game. So my first player of the game is going to be Travion Henderson on offense. I think he missed last week. He's probably healthy now. The offensive line is getting challenged this week because they had one of their worst games last week. And I think that Trey is ready to continue taking that next step into superstardom, because I think he's that good of a player. He receives a lot of flack because of last year, but I mean, in every big game we've ever had, the guy shows up and makes huge plays to help the team win. So I don't know what else you can ask for. So Travion Henderson is my number one. And then my number two on offense, I'm gonna go with I think Xavier Johnson. I think Xavier Johnson's going to play a lot in this game with Emeka being out, and I think that he's going to shine, because that's what Xavier Johnson does. When he's on the field, he makes plays, and I hope, especially from the slot. I think last year against Georgia, when Marv went out, they put Xavier Johnson in, and he was playing the outside receiver, and I don't think that he was able to really shine there. But I think out of the slot, he will be able to, and I think that he'll catch a couple touchdowns and do some things that we're not used to seeing in terms of like making people miss. And he'll end up being the second offensive player of the game. And then as far as the defense goes, I'm going to go with Denzel Burke, because I do think that Purdue is not going to be scared to throw the ball. I think that Denzel Burke comes up with an interception, maybe takes it to the house, makes some big plays in this game. So I'm going to have him as my first defensive player of the game. Yo, what's up, Mike? What's up, brother? Hell yeah, man. Let me know if you have any questions or anything. I'm actually was about to wrap up here in a minute. Just got a couple more things. Right now, I'm just talking about who my offensive and defensive players of the games are. Uh, Expected players of the game. So, like, most important players, guys I expect to see ball out. I had Travion Henderson and Xavier Johnson for offense. My first defensive player, like I said, was Denzel Burke. I think that he's really going to ball out. And then my second defensive player is going to be JT Tuimoloau. I heard from another show that um, the hold on, let me get this right. The right tackle for Purdue is injured. There's a backup that they have that transferred in who has 10 pass rush snaps this year and has gave up a pressure on 9 of them. And I think that's where JT's going to be lined up at. Now they might have somebody else instead of that guy, but I think that JT Tuimoloau is going to abuse whoever they put out there in this game, and come up with something like 2.5 sacks and like a forced fumble, something crazy like that. I really think he's going to get off this game. So let me see here. And then really the last thing I have before I wrap up the show here, I just wanted to give my final score prediction for this Ohio State versus Purdue game. I say that Ohio State's going to run away with this and win. I'm going to say 42 to 10. I think the defense is going to be the main highlight. They're going to make most of the plays needed to make this a blowout. And then the offense is probably going to still be stagnant how it always is. And we're going to not be happy with it, I don't think. But they're going to score some points and people are going to be happy. And then we'll probably go into the Penn State game worried that we might go in there and get beat. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it right now. There'll be a lot of people after this game that will say, like, no, man, the offense looked way better because they scored more points. But I think the defense is going to be the one that generates that. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Look, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the show up. I know we just got a couple people in here, but thanks for watching, guys. I'll be live again on Monday at 10 a.m. I don't really get to do it on the weekend because of my kids, but it's all right. But if you like the show, leave a like, obviously. Hit the subscribe button and come back for more content daily throughout the week. Peace out, guys. You have a good day.